Well, welcome to the Board Game Network. I'm going to be explaining how to play this game called Friday by Friedemann Friese. And it is a solo adventure solitaire game. Plays in about 25 minutes for 13 years and up. I've already got it set out here for you. We've got a green board here, and on top of that green board we put hazard cards. They have this back, but the way to distinguish them is they have two halves of a card. So they rotate, and then they got a top of a half card, and you rotate and you got a top of a half card. So those are your hazard cards. You have 3 cards here that you set in green, yellow, and red, and you just set those in a stack here. You've got a stack of pirate cards. You mix those up, draw 2 face up. You take the rest of them and put them out of the game. These are your aging cards. There's going to be 8 with a black hair and beard and mustache, and 3 that are white haired. And you're going to take the very stupid, the -3, and take it out of the game. Not sure why it's in there. I don't really see a variant that uses it. But anyway, you take that out. So there should be 7 with black hair, 3 with white hair. You're going to mix the white hair up. Put them face down on this board. You're going to mix the black hair up. You're going to put them face down on top of the white haired ones. You're going to take your life points here. There's 22 of them. You're going to remove 2. This is going to be your spares, or your the ones when you lose life, they're going to go over here, and then if you gain life, you take them from there. So you're going to start with 20 life. You're going to have 2 left over. And then here are your fighting cards. And they have also the same back as this deck and as this deck. All have the same back. And the reason for that is these cards and these cards eventually show up in this deck. So they're all going to have the same back. So these cards only have one side to them. They're going to have a number up here and then a fence down here. Okay, so those get shuffled. So all of these, this gets shuffled, this gets shuffled, those get shuffled in the 2 pieces like I explained. As a general rule, here's the icons on this board that tells you how this works. So once you run all the way through this deck, you're going to discard the green card here, and you're going to go to the yellow card. Once you have reshuffled this deck and gone all the way through it again, you're going to discard the yellow and go to the red. Once you've gone all the way through it a 3rd time, you're going to discard the red, and you see the pirate hat, and that means you have to fight the pirates at that point. So you go through the deck 3 times, then you fight the pirates, and then the game's over. Okay. This one just simply shows 7 with black hair, 3 with white hair underneath. This one shows that once you've gone all the way through your deck one time, you take 1 card from here, you shuffle it in the discard, build yourself a new deck, and then you start again. So every time you run out of this deck, you're going to put 1 of these cards in here. And aging cards are bad cards. They have negative values, so it hurts you. So you don't really want to go through the deck as fast as you can, because then you get bad cards shuffled into the deck. Okay, so you are ready to go. And the way to play this game is you flip up 2 cards here. You look at those 2 cards, and you're looking at the side that's got the green, yellow, and red on the side here. And this number here tells you how many cards you get to flip up for free to fight this card. And the color here that matches the color on this card is what you're trying to beat. So this has got a 0 here. So if you get 1 free card and you're trying to beat a 0, so you flip this up, and right now I have a 0 as my fighting value. So first off, when I flip up 2, I keep 1. So let's just keep this one. So I flip up my 1 card here. It's a 0. It's sufficient to defeat this, so if you do defeat the card, they both go in your discard, so then that card gets shuffled into this deck. And then you're using this other half of the card when you use it from this deck, and so it has its own fighting ability, and it's got an ability down here that you can use once per turn. So when you decide which of the two to fight from over here, which of the two hazard cards, pay attention to those abilities, because you may get an ability that you want to keep and you need to put it over here so it can get it put in your deck. Okay, so here's another one. Here's a 1 that we need to get a 0 for, or a 3 to get to a 2. Now remember, if you go through this whole deck, then you discard the green and go to the yellow. So the second time through the deck, you're fighting the higher value, the yellow values here, and then the third time through, you're fighting the red values, which get even higher. So 1 card to get to 0, or 3 cards to get to 2. Let's just do 3 cards to get to 2. So I flip up and I got a -1 and a 0 and a 0. So that totals -1. So I'm trying to get to 2. So there's 2 things I can do. I can either just lose, and to lose, I lose my life equal to the difference between what I have here and the value I'm trying to reach. So -1 up to 2, so it would cost me 3 life to lose, and if I lose, that goes back in the discard. These go in this discard. The other choice I have is to pay a life to draw another card. So if I do that, I pay a life, I flip up another card. That didn't help me at all. Play another life, flip up another card. That hurt me. Now I'm at -2. Pay a life, flip another card. This is getting worse. So at this point, I am 6 away from defeating this card. So I could still decide, okay, I'm going to just pay the 6, get it over with, lose against the card. The card gets discarded. But when I lose and I pay 6 or pay whatever life here, I can actually destroy cards that are out here. One life per card. So since I paid 6, I could destroy 6 cards out here. Well, I would definitely want to get rid of the -1, and this goes out of the game. So it gets taken out of the deck. This one here's a -1, that would be 2 of them, and I could keep the 0s, or I could get rid of the 0s. I don't want these 0s. They don't do anything for me. They just weaken the deck, maybe, or depends on what you think. So then I could then I go flip up 2 more cards. This one says 2 free ones to get to 1, or 3 free ones to get to 2. Now look at these on the other side, the fighting values for these cards. This one gives me +1 life, which at this point I might really need. This one doubles. It says 1x double, and if you don't know what that does, you just flip to your booklet here, and it tells you 1x double doubles the fighting points of 1 other face-up fighting card. So whatever your best card is to fight out here, you can double that value with this ability. So not only does it give you 2, it can double your best one. So both of those are really good cards, +1 life or doubling the value of another card. And each of these you can only use once per turn. And to show that you've used it, to remember you've used it, you turn it sideways once it's out, and then you go ahead and do whatever it says. So I don't know. Let's do this one. 2 free ones for 1 line, or 2 free ones to defeat 1 point. So there's 1. There's 2, and you can always stop before you've used all your free cards. If you've already defeated the card, you can stop early if you don't want to draw any more. So at this point I've drawn 2, I've got a difference of 1. I'll probably pay a life and see if I can pull off another one. Pay a life, pull off another one. And eventually I did. I eventually got to 1, so I have defeated the card. Now the reason why you put the free ones go on the left, the ones you're paying life for go on the right, and the reason for that is there's some things that happen different between your left and right cards. So that would get discarded to my deck. And the reason why this game is called Friday is because you are Friday and this guy shows up on your island in a shipwreck. and he doesn't know how to survive, and so you're trying to help him. So he starts out really stupid, but you're trying to help him develop his abilities. Robinson Crusoe is his name. So it's based on the Robinson Crusoe book. And so you keep going like this. And so once you get down, all the way down through this deck, you're going to pull the top card off of here. You're going to mix these up. And you're going to start a new deck and keep drawing. Once you get done with this deck, if you get down to 2 cards, you just play as normal. If you get down to 1 card, you're going to flip that up and decide if you want to fight it or not. You can choose. You get the choice of you can either just discard it or you can fight it. If you're down to 0, then you reshuffle this deck. You discard the top card here and continue on, and then flip up your 2 cards and decide what to do. Now let me talk a little bit about some of these abilities in here. Phase -1. Phase -1 means that you get to fight at the 1 lower phase here. So if you're yellow, you can fight it at the green value. If you're red, you fight it at the yellow value when you're fighting cards. So the way to do this is, let's say that we've got this card out. This card is in our deck, and so we flip up 2 cards. There's 1, there's 2. So we've gotten our 2 free cards, and let's say we're at the yellow phase now. So we're trying to get to 3, the second level, with 2 cards. We can't do that, but to use this ability, what I do is I turn it sideways to show that I've used it, and then now I have to fight it at the green value instead of the yellow value. So the same thing happens, like let's say I have a +1 life. Doesn't matter which side it's on. Let's say it's over here. I would turn it sideways and get a life back. So every time I'm drawing that out, I'm definitely using that ability to pull life back in. So once I get through this deck 3 times, then you look at this and you go, okay, this takes 6 free cards. These work just like these do. Tells you how many free cards here and the value you're trying to equal or exceed to defeat the card. And this one says 10 with 52, but the special ability on this card is each face-up fighting card counts +1 fighting point. So even 0s would count as 1s. There's 2 ways to lose this game. One of them is to simply pull all of your fighting cards out and not have sufficient value to defeat whatever card it is you're trying to defeat. And the other way to lose is if you run out of life points. Now it says less than 0, so you can actually have 0 life and still play the game, but as soon as you need another life to take you down to -1, then that's when you lose the game. And there are cards in here that destroy fighting cards, and you definitely want to get those cards. Here's one right here. It says 1x destroy, and the way those work is if that's in play, you're going to turn that sideways, and then that causes you to flip over a card. Now this other card you could have used its ability on already, but that card now has a value of 0. Doesn't matter what the value was on the front side. It now has a value of 0. And then at the end, when you do the discard, this goes out of the game. So that's a way of getting rid of your negative values, and especially your aging cards that are bad for you. Like here's one that says your highest card is equal to 0. So once this is out, if you have a 3 in play, that becomes a 0. You definitely wouldn't want that in your deck. So you get rid of those kinds of cards out of your deck. Here's one that says +2 cards. So if you have that in play and you turn it sideways, you get to draw 2 more free cards essentially, because you don't have to pay life for them. So you gradually want this deck to be better and better cards throughout the game so that you can defeat higher valued hazard cards, because you're going to be discarding these and going to higher values on the cards. So that's how you play Friday, put out by Rio Grande Games. Make sure you tune into all of our videos here at the Board Game Network.